Imagine waking up in what you thought was paradise, coffee in hand, only to see a screaming neon orange violation notice duct taped to your dead grandfather's beloved fishing boat, like some kind of suburban parking ticket from hell. Unauthorized vessel on community waters. Immediate removal required. Welcome to Whispering Pines Estates, where the HOA doesn't just enforce rules, they invent them to remind you who's really in charge. That was me, Jake Harlan, 2 weeks after selling my cybersecurity startup for more money than most people see in 3 lifetimes. I'd burned out hard in Silicon Valley. 10 years of 80-hour weeks left me hollow. All I wanted was the quiet of Bennett Lake, the same 40-acre jewel my grandfather Elias had bought in the 1960s and cherished until his last breath. The modest cabin he'd built with his own hands. The aluminum boat we'd spent countless summer mornings on. Him teaching me that water wasn't just scenery, it was legacy. The peace lasted exactly 11 days. I ripped the notice off the boat and marched back to the cabin, blood already simmering. The formal letter from Deborah Langford, HOA president, was waiting in my mailbox. Cream paper, gold embossed logo, the works. Dear Mr. Harlan, your non-compliant watercraft violates Section 4.7 of our covenants. The lake is a shared aesthetic resource for all residents. Failure to remove the vessel within 48 hours will result in $300 daily fines and possible impoundment. Shared aesthetic resource. On my lake. The sheer audacity made me bark out a laugh that echoed off the water. These people had clearly been running unchecked for years. I called my only local ally, old Tom Wilkins, who'd been Grandpa Elias's fishing buddy for 40 years. Jake, boy, Tom drawled, not even surprised. You just met Queen Debbie. She's been letting her little lakeside elite club use your grandpa's lake for their fancy tournaments since the development went up 10 years ago. Never asked permission once. Now that you're here, they're panicking. Panicking was right. A quick look at the HOA website showed dozens of photos, smiling residents in expensive vests holding fish on my eastern shore. Tents. Barbecue pits. A temporary dock they installed every summer. The latest post announced their grand championship next weekend with a $10,000 prize pool and VIP investor meet and greet. They were throwing parties on my property and charging people for it. That night, I installed discrete trail cameras. My tech background made it easy. By morning, I had clear footage of HOA board members directing setup crews on my land. The real bombshell came when I dug out Grandpa's old deeds. Crystal clear, Bennett Lake and a 20-foot perimeter were private property, never deeded to the HOA. A 2009 survey confirmed it. But Debbie wasn't done. 2 days later, I woke up to an empty dock. The boat was gone. In its place, another orange notice. Vessel impounded for repeated violations. $850 to retrieve plus compliance agreement. They'd stolen my grandfather's boat. That's when the game changed. I didn't yell. I didn't call the sheriff yet. I just smiled, thin and cold. Because people like Debbie Langford always make the same mistake. They think quiet means weak. I reached out to my old college friend, Lila Moreau, now a shark of an environmental lawyer. Jake, she said after I emailed her the deeds and camera stills, this isn't a dispute. This is textbook trespass plus theft. But play it smart. Document everything. Let them dig their own grave. Smart was exactly what I did. I drove to the county records office myself, printed every plat map from 1962 onward. Not one of them showed the lake as HOA property. In fact, the original development plat from 10 years ago specifically carved Bennett Lake out as private non-association land. They knew. They just didn't care. Meanwhile, Debbie kept the pressure on. My mailbox filled with fresh violations. My rustic cabin shutters were not in keeping with the beige aesthetic. My truck had been parked 3 inches over the imaginary community line. And, my personal favorite, my coffee mug on the dock violated visual clutter ordinances. Each one came with that same saccharine sign-off. We appreciate your cooperation in maintaining our beautiful community standards. I almost admired the creativity. Almost. At the next HOA meeting, I slipped in the back row wearing a hoodie, blending with the retirees. Debbie ran the show like a corporate tyrant in pastels, lecturing about lawn heights and flagpole regulations until she reached the lake issue. An unauthorized vessel has been removed for aesthetic compliance, she announced, smiling like she'd just saved Christmas. We must protect our shared amenity for everyone. I raised my hand. The room went still. Quick question, Mrs. Langford, I said, voice calm. When you say shared amenity, do you have a deed or any recorded agreement showing the HOA owns Bennett Lake? Her Botoxed smile twitched. Historical community use has established our management rights, Mr. Harlan. It's always been this way. Interesting, I replied. Because the county plat maps say otherwise. Gasps rippled. Debbie cut the topic dead faster than a bad Zoom call. But the seed was planted. After the meeting, her vice president, slick-haired Victor Lang, no relation, just convenient nepotism, cornered me by the coffee urn. Look, Jake, no need to make waves. Join the elite club. Free membership. You'll love the tournaments. I smiled. Love the idea of paying to fish on my own lake. Pass. That night my truck windshield got keyed with the word troublemaker. Cute. The next morning my boat magically reappeared at the dock, minus the motor. A note from Debbie herself. Courtesy return pending full compliance. Courtesy. Right. Lila arrived the following day with a stack of cease and desist templates. We spent hours reviewing camera footage showing elite club members launching boats, grilling burgers, and even installing floating docks on my eastern shore. One clip caught Debbie herself telling investors, the lake is fully under HOA control, prime development opportunity. Jackpot, Lila whispered. Trespass, fraud, the works. We decided to let the big tournament happen. Let them hang themselves on video. I sent a polite registered letter requesting all documents proving HOA authority over the lake. Their lawyer, some oily guy named Julian, fired back a 3-page threat letter full of established precedents and 0 actual citations. Lila laughed so hard she snorted coffee. They're bluffing with nothing. Debbie showed up at my door the day before the tournament, all fake smiles and clipboard. Jake, darling, let's not let a silly misunderstanding ruin the community vibe. Sign this simple acknowledgement of HOA lake management and we'll waive every fine. I stared at the paper. It was basically me handing over my deed. Interesting offer, I said. Does it also include a cut of the resort profits you're pitching to investors? Her face went the color of spoiled milk. I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, I think you do. The one with the condos and marina right where my cabin sits. She left without another word, heels clicking like tiny guillotines. Tournament day dawned bright and smug. Trucks rolled in at dawn. Tents bloomed. A massive banner proclaimed 15th Annual Whispering Pines Elite Championship, sponsored by your HOA. From my deck with binoculars and a parabolic mic, I watched Debbie strut around in a white pantsuit, schmoozing 4 suited investors. Exclusive access guaranteed, she cooed. We're finalizing the development deal this month. Luxury lakeside living for the discerning buyer. The investors nodded, flipping through glossy brochures showing my trees replaced by condos. Lila nodded beside me. That's felony-level fraud right there. At exactly 11:47 a.m., the county judge signed the emergency injunction we'd pre-filed. 2 private security guards I'd hired rolled up and started planting bright yellow, private property, and no trespassing signs around the entire eastern shore. Then the sheriff's deputy arrived, invited by us for crowd control. I walked down the path flanked by Lila and the deputy like a scene from a movie I never wanted to star in. The deputy raised her voice. Attention, everyone. This gathering is occurring on private property owned by Mr. Jake Harlan without permission. You are ordered to vacate immediately under court injunction. Silence. Then chaos. Victor charged forward, face purple. We've been doing this for 15 years. Debbie pushed through, investors trailing. This is outrageous. The lake is HOA managed. The deputy held up the injunction, issued by Judge Whitaker this morning based on recorded deeds. Lila stepped up, calm as ice. Furthermore, Mrs. Langford, we've documented you misrepresenting ownership to these investors. That's fraud. One investor, a woman in Louboutins, spun on Debbie. You told us the access was secured. We have contracts pending. Murmurs turned to shouts from actual residents. We paid dues for lake access you never owned. Debbie looked like she'd swallowed a live wasp. Julian the lawyer came screeching in, waving papers. Procedural irregularities. Lila didn't blink. Counselor, the injunction is ironclad. Advise your client to stop talking before she digs deeper. The deputy started directing people out. Tents came down. The elite banner flopped into the mud. Debbie turned on me, voice low and venomous. You have no idea who you're messing with. I met her eyes. Actually, I do. And I have you on tape selling my lake to investors. Wonder what the district attorney will think. She went ghost white. The investors were already marching to their Mercedes, one muttering about lawsuits. Local reporter Chloe Rivera arrived just in time, camera rolling. Residents who'd been silent for years suddenly couldn't stop talking. The story exploded online the next day. HOA president caught selling private lake in bold fraud scheme. Regional news picked it up. By evening, Debbie's carefully curated Facebook page was flooded with one-star reviews. The emergency HOA meeting 3 days later was a bloodbath. Debbie didn't show. Her board resigned on the spot under angry questioning. Residents demanded financial audits. Turns out thousands in lake maintenance fees had vanished into Debbie's personal consulting account. I stood up quietly. I never wanted war with the community. I just want my property respected. If the neighborhood wants responsible access, we can make it legal and fair. The room actually applauded. Within weeks, the county prosecutor opened an investigation. The investors sued Debbie for fraud. My boat reappeared at the dock with a motor mysteriously fixed and a handwritten apology from the new acting president. Chloe's follow-up piece revealed Debbie's past. Same scam in Florida under a different name, license revoked, skipped town before charges. She disappeared overnight, house lights off, for sale sign up before the ink dried. We formed the Bennett Lake Conservation Trust, me, a retired judge, and elected residents. Controlled public access with real permits. Every dollar goes to water testing and habitat restoration. The Eastern Shore is now a small public park with a fishing pier and a bronze plaque for Grandpa Elias. Water is life, not a commodity. The old elite club dissolved. A new open anglers group formed. Anyone with a permit welcome. No more VIP nonsense. Some mornings I still take Grandpa's boat out, now painted a defiant forest green. Tom joins me, laughing about how Elias would have loved watching Debbie get dragged. Lila stops by to keep the trust papers straight. The no trespassing signs came down. Welcoming markers went up instead. Turns out the sweetest revenge isn't just winning. It's turning the battlefield into something better. So tell me, was Debbie wrong for protecting community standards all those years? Or was I the real villain for daring to say no? You decide.